lovelies, welcome back, darklings, lightlings, and everyone in between. I hope you're well today. So a thought occurred to me, and before I continue with the divination, which I will be continuing tomorrow for part 2, I never talked about servitors. So I wanted to kind of discuss how you can create your own servitor and give you a little information about the servitor I created. So, I adore my baby Essex, that's his name, okay. Oh, and I know some people may have an opinion about witches using servitors, but guess what? I don't really care. Bitch me out in the comments if you feel some type of way about it, but anyway, now that that's out of the way, I'm gonna tell you how I created mine. Now, Essex, I kind of did a rough sketch of him. It's not that great. Just to kind of give you an idea of what he looks like. He is half bull, half man. I left out some things purposely because I'm not going to tell everybody every protective measure I have with him, because his purpose is to solely protect my family and I. So I do have sigils on his body and some armor and stuff, but I just let those details out because I choose to keep that personal. So the sigils I have on him are for protection for us and him as well. I programmed him to feed off negative energy that may come into my household or surround me, and off of my blood. But you can use other methods for your servitor. Mine roams free in my house now. Before, I did have him a little home in a crystal on my altar or in my black mirror, but I've decided recently to just kind of let him roam free, right? I mean, his job's to protect us, and the more that you interact with your servitor, the more it becomes, if that makes sense. So, yeah. First, let's talk about the first step of creating them. Alright, so you plan the purpose you want to create your servitor for. Many people have different purposes or reasons for creating one. Mine, like I said, is solely for protection. For my family, my children, and while I travel in the astral realm, he travels with me as kind of like my guardian. But you're going to have to be very specific in all of these steps to create your servitor and to kind of do it effectively. You're going to write every detail, including how you want them to look, what tasks you're going to design for them later, behaviors, qualities in them. You are designing a powerful entity to serve you. It must know its purpose, like everything living. It needs to have a purpose. Visualization and energy manipulation is very necessary to create your servitor. I usually like to draw them when I'm planning. Well, when I planned mine, I drew him just to get a visual, and you can change it. It's just kind of the first step. You're wanting to create the idea of your servitor before you manifest them. And with visualization, I created like a defense and an offense for him. How will it protect you? What are the skills you're going to give it, or abilities? And if you are designing one like mine that's made to protect you, really think out the methods you're going to use. Like I gave mine not only armor and protective symbols, but he also has astral weapons. He has a sword and an axe, and his tail has a blade on it, as well as his hooves with spikes. So if anything baneful was to come my way from another practitioner, he would destroy it, and be protected himself. So that's kind of how I manifested what I wanted him to be. So the next step, you're going to define how you're going to feed your servitor, how you're going to give him that necessary energy to keep living and doing what you need him to do. All things require energy to exist. So I recommend giving your servitor a few ways to feed, using your own energy last. I gave my servitor a way to feed off negative energy that comes my way. He can eat the souls or the essence of a dark entity or familiar that comes my way, as well as my menstrual blood. And I do that because it's kind of the womb of creation, so to speak. So, very powerful way to feed them. Finally, I gave him the skills to draw energy from the sun and the moon. So as he is roaming my house, he can draw on the energy of the earth. Kind of like a baby in a way. You teach them things, you teach them how to sustain their own life, how to do these things. And you want to give your servitor knowledge, as much knowledge as they need to be able to carry out what you need from them. You can also be creative. You can even use words. You can tell it, I love you, simple as that, and your words can feed it through conversation or through interacting with your servitor, because we're constantly exchanging energy with things, right? So the next step would be the time to get very specific, the form you want it to take. I chose a half bull, very big, very tall, muscular, for endurance and to intimidate. Then I gave him the armor and his necessary astral weapons he may need to effectively protect me. I also included eyes in the back of his head. I wanted no weak spots for my servitor, so he can see all around him. Some servitors are in the form of like animals or mythological creatures, shapes, plants, literally almost any form. You can create it to a specific purpose. And it will depend on the purpose that you're creating your servitor for. Essex is built for protecting us, but I give him tasks if need be, like a familiar. If I need him to, find something for me, if I need him to do. So you can also use a servitor to transmute negative thoughts and negative emotions into positive ones. And that could be their only purpose. So if you struggle with depression or, negative emotions and thoughts frequently, you could create a servitor to transmute and feed off that and exchange positive energy back into your thoughts. The next step is it's time to charge and create your servitor. It's time to manifest it. This will take energy and visual skills, and it could take days, it could take weeks, it could take hours. It really depends. So you're going to create the name of your servitor, right? When you give something a name, it exists. Then you're going to create its sigil from the name that you gave it. Keep that sigil private. You can use that to summon it or for other things, but I recommend keeping it private, especially if it's for protective purposes. Put it near the sketch you made. If you can sketch your servitor, that already helps you with visualization skills and techniques. If you have trouble really vividly visualizing things. But you can also do it from the mind. You don't have to sketch it. But if you're pretty good with seeing things in your mind's eye and creating it, you can do it that way as well. But I put the sigil near the sketch I made of Essex, and use the sigil itself as you focus in your mind's eye, the model form of your servitor. See every detail of it in your head. Then see it begin to move and behave in the way that you want it to. Then, kind of like a video game character where you're testing their skills out, see it doing these things, the skills you want it to do, the purposes you want it to carry out. See all of that in your mind's eye. Alright, and you can even watch them battle in your head. That's what I did. I would go through different battle techniques or styles in my head for the servitor. Once this becomes very clear, hold your palms out toward the sigil, then push the image from your third eye and energy from your palms that you pull up from the earth from your root chakra. Feel the vibrations, and you want to push it into the material world from both your palms and your third eye, what you're seeing. As you're doing this, vision a light cord that is linking from you to your servitor to the sigil. I made this sigil also from my menstrual blood as well to symbolize the birth of life. After this is done, you have provided the links between you, your servitor, and the sigil, and you also charged your sigil in the servitor. Next, I would create commands, how you want to summon it, where it's going to live. I summon mine by his name, and only my voice can command and summon him. You want to be very specific with these details. I can't stress that enough when creating a servitor, because you're programming and creating a being into existence. So I also programmed him to where if I'm panicking or I'm terrified, he automatically is summoned. He's there. So if my children are afraid, then that too will summon him. You can create a mantra or in to charge and to summon him, or do it in the exercise that I already talked about. Here you want to specify who and what can summon and command it. Do you want your partner to be able to, or just you? Or maybe your children? It's really down to the creator. Also, you can change their programming depending on circumstances. You can reprogram and add things to him, which we're going to talk about in a minute later. If you forgot something and you're like, oh, I want my servitor to also do this, you can always go back and give that to your servitor. And you can do that anytime by redoing the visual exercise that I had talked about. So only you are watching different scenarios play out and how you want your servitor to react to these situations. So if you are panicking, or kind of how I programmed mine, if my children or I are really terrified and it automatically summons him, I programmed him in my mind to behavior-wise observe the situation and then react to whatever could be harming us. If you want a kill switch, now would be the time to create it as well. The kill switch is a word you use to end the servitor's life. It hurts me to think about that because I'm quite bonded with Essex. However, many unexpected things can happen if you are not specific and with strong intent while creating him. Or another entity could take control of it if they know your servitor's programming or weak spots. The programming and creation should be well planned, detailed, and thought out. And like I said, this can take a while because you are creating a thought form life for a purpose. It ain't done overnight. So the next step is, after you have done these steps, you should be ready to summon it for the first time. But I do not recommend tasks right away. This is to study your servitor, how it is operating with, what you have already programmed it, and to embed other details into your creation that you might want to add. You can put him or her back to sleep and adjust it by the exercise we talked about, or as you study your servitor, push your thoughts and energy into the servitor. You guys have heard about downloads and such of information that we might get spiritually. Well, this is kind of you giving your servitor those downloads of knowledge or information that you want it to have. All right. Manipulate the details and behaviors how you see it in your mind. After this, you will define the home for your servitor, or where it will reside or roam freely in your home. I recommend crystals, and the reason for that is it can be fed energy while it sleeps through crystals. It can in anything, but crystals you can charge easily as well, also simultaneously charging your servitor. But many people use many different things that work for them. Almost any item. You know, you can use dolls, mirrors, sigils, whatever you choose. Other ways to feed your servitor include blood, emotions, the elements, actions, sexual energy, and interacting with it. And yes, you can have a sexual relationship with your servitor if you choose to do so and create that purpose within your bond as well. You can task it to stop enemies trying to harm you. You can send it to find things for you. You can send it to check on loved ones. You can send it to, I mean, if you're baneful, I'm not judging. Got an enemy that's really trying to hurt you? I mean, I don't advocate for just throwing shit around, you know, every time you get upset with someone. But if it's realistically like putting you in danger, you can send it off to take care of that for you. Mine is specifically a guardian. And as you go along, like I said, you can download the knowledge and details into the servitor to perform newer tasks. Say you didn't give it the programming to carry out a task that you thought of later, and you're like, well, I really would like my servitor to have that ability. You can always give them the knowledge they need to carry it out. Because if you fail to be thorough on the programming, then it can be quite naive to carry tasks that are asked of it, unless you give it the knowledge it needs and the abilities to carry it out. Program it to link to your subconscious and receive from your subconscious. Also, great astral travel partners. It protects me during my astral travels, and he's always kind of there in the background. Great servitor. I love him. I'm bragging because I adore Essex. So a servitor can benefit you in many ways, and the more you work with it, the better it becomes. I do not want my servitor too limited in the world. I need him smart, I need him cunning, and I need him fearless. His only rule, which a lot of people will set rules that it isn't allowed to do or whatever, and if it tries to do something that is against the rules the practitioner puts down for it, I have seen people use the kill switch. But I do believe you can manipulate and change its thoughts to suit you and it as well. So his only rule is to stay at my side and at my family's side, unless tasked otherwise. I don't want him just out roaming in the world everywhere. So that's really the only rule, is he cannot turn on anyone in my family, and he cannot cause chaos, and he cannot leave our sides. His only compassion is for my family as well. Love was built between us, and I wanted that bond between my servitor and my family. I don't want him to have compassion for anyone or anything else. Call that selfish. I call it a good defense mechanism, because if I need him to take care of something else, think of our emotions that get in the way of things. I don't want my servitor to just be mixed up with emotions. So really think about and plan out before you create it all of these little aspects that you want in the programming. That's probably one of the most important parts of creating your servitor, is programming it, as well as energy and visualization. So I hope this helps people who were curious or wanted to know how to create a servitor, and I hope you enjoyed this. Much love, guys. I'll see you later for another occult and pagan gaming stream, and tomorrow I will continue on the divination, so keep an eye out for that. I love you guys.